Hello, everyone. This is the Insert Title Show, and I am your host, Wolf Strife. On this episode, I am going to be talking about my Mark I trench knife reproduction from Atlanta Cutlery Corp. I got this knife about a year ago, I think. It's a very, very nice reproduction. Atlanta Cutlery Corp did a great job on this. Looks exactly like the originals. I mean, it's amazing. Even has original marks on it, all the right stuff. I mean, it's just, yeah, and it even comes with the pretty unique scabbard that was designed for the Mark I trench knife. So, yeah, just as far as being a reproduction goes, this is a great reproduction. And if you want to get an original one, I mean, they're out there on the internet. I mean, some are worth more than others, but they're not too hard to find. It's just I've never really been interested in owning original weapons just because the odds are they might be from the time period, but they probably were just sitting in a box somewhere for 100 years. So it's not like the usual original knife that you're going to come across was actually like used in combat and stuff. So you might as well have a newer knife that's in great condition and stuff. At least that's how I've always looked at it. But yeah, and you're going to save a couple $100 too. I mean, original Mark Ones aren't exactly cheap, but they aren't too expensive either. It's just, you know, I kind of want something new that's mine and that doesn't cost, 500 bucks or whatever. So that's why I decided to go with a reproduction. And I'm a big fan of Atlanta Cutlery Corp. I've bought, several knives from them over the years. And yeah, I like their stuff. So I was like, yeah, I'll definitely go with this. I mean, it's a lot nicer than a lot of the cheap, shitty reproductions that I've seen before this one. So when they came out with this, I was like, okay, I'll definitely get this one. Because a few years before, I bought the the M1917 trench knife and the M1917 bolo knife from Atlanta Cutlery Corp, and I love those knives, so I was definitely sold when this one came out. Now, as far as the specifications go, this reproduction is naturally an exact copy of an original. So basically, the knife is about 11 and a half inches overall, and the blade is 6 inches 3/4 long. So, I mean, it's a pretty decent sized blade. The knife weighs about a pound. I mean, naturally, the blade itself is steel, but the handle is actually made out of cast bronze, which is pretty cool. I mean, this is definitely a sturdy knife. I mean, it's all metal, and it even has a steel nut that holds the handle and the blade together. And that's actually also a skull cracker, which is pretty crazy to think about using. But yeah, I mean, this knife is just really, really freaking cool. And the steel scabbard is just trippy, man. I've never seen anything like this. I need to like get a belt and try and see how it attaches and stuff. I'm just like, how the hell does this work? But because the knife is so, just unique, they had to come up with a unique scabbard to hold it. So that makes sense, I guess. But yeah, I guess I'll go into the history of the Mark I trench knife. Basically, after the M1917 and the M1918 trench knives were, I guess, released, there were a lot of complaints about them. So the American Army basically needed a new trench knife. So basically, on June 1st, 1918, a group of officers from the American Expeditionary Force got together and tested out a bunch of trench knives from other countries and also some trench knives that were currently being designed and redesigned and stuff. So basically, they just got their hands on everything that was available at the time to try and make a new and better trench knife. The M1917 and M1918 weren't terrible. It was just that because of the triangular shaped blade, they weren't really good for anything other than stabbing krauts with. You couldn't really use it as a tool or a cutting tool, basically, and, camping and stuff. So they needed something that could be a little more versatile. And so, yeah, they put all these trench knives through the ringer and came up with a pretty cool design. Basically, they knew they needed a regular blade because the triangular shaped blade just wasn't versatile enough. And there were also complaints about the triangular shaped blade of the M1917 and 1918 bending and stuff. So they knew they wanted a regular double edged blade. So they decided the best blade design to go for was the model of the French Bernard, and so they incorporated that design into the knife. And they did like the knuckle duster of the M1917 and M1918, so they made sure to keep that. And so basically, yeah, they just switched out the blade more or less, and also added some other features. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, they basically got together, looked at all the current trench knives, and looked at what worked and what didn't, and basically tried to get rid of the stuff that didn't work. And they came up with this pretty freaking cool trench knife. The blade itself is pretty cool. The handguard is this. I mean, I really dig the handguard. This cast bronze, and they even put spikes on the knuckle duster to, I guess, increase the damage from impact, when punching somebody. And I mean, if you touch it, like I'm touching mine right now, it's pretty damn pointy. Like, you wouldn't even want to grab this thing, like if you were fighting somebody, because I mean, that's just gonna like really fuck your hand up and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, just like every part of this handguard is dangerous. And of course, you got the, steel nut that I guess you could use that coming up behind somebody and just, drop the knife right down on their skull or the back of their neck and stuff. Could definitely do some damage with this thing. So yeah, basically after it was designed, it went right into production. The Army ordered about 1.2 million Mark I trench knives for the American Expeditionary Force. And so they hired, like half a dozen knife making companies in America and in France, which is pretty interesting. Well, I mean, our soldiers were just getting over there, so we had to get these knives to these guys as quickly as possible. So, I mean, everybody was just churning out these knives. I believe the French ones are probably the most rare. They were kind of cool. Like they had this cool lion logo on the blade, and so I think I said "Oh Lion" or something. So yeah, that's pretty cool. But yeah, the company that made the most of them was Landers, Ferry, and Clark. And in fact, you could see their logo on the handle. And in fact, on my Atlantic Cutlery Corp reproduction, that's right there, LF and C. So that's pretty cool. Basically, why they made the most was because they were the only contractor that didn't have their order canceled. Because the problem is, like I said, this knife basically was designed in June 1918. Well, the war ended about 5 months later, so they didn't really have time to get too many of these out in the field. In fact, I think Landers, Ferry, and Clark made about 119,000, give or take, before the war ended, basically. And so the Army actually canceled all the other orders, but still, I guess some of those were made, so every now and then collectors can actually get their hands on knives that have other companies' stamps on them and stuff, so that's kind of interesting. So I guess, yeah, if you're a collector, the Mark 1s with the LFC logo are probably the cheapest ones to get, and the other ones with the other logos are probably the most expensive ones to get, the most rare, I suppose. But yeah, so when the war ended, there weren't too many of these Mark 1s out in the field. Probably just a couple of hundred, maybe a couple of thousand. Kind of crazy, but I mean, this was a knife that was designed specifically for World War One combat. I mean, from the ground up, basically. But oddly enough, the knife would actually see a hell of a lot more combat in World War Two, because after World War One ended, all these knives were basically oiled up and put in crates and just sat for like 25 years or whatever. But then when America got into World War II, the crates were popped open, and these knives were given to basically the combat units who were going to need them, because this is a trench knife slash fighting knife. So who else to give this knife to but, the elite combat units? So the Mark One was given to, the Marines, the Rangers, the paratroopers, those guys basically. So that's pretty cool. The knife was popular with some guys, but there were a lot of complaints about the knife in World War II. The blade was kind of thin near the bottom, like this part right here. So if you were using it to cut up something, the blade would snap, or maybe snap in the guy's rib cage. But yeah, just it being kind of thin right there where the knife meets the handle, that was kind of a design flaw. And just trying to use the knife as a tool was kind of a pain in the ass because of the big, bronze handguard and stuff. I mean, it's not, I mean, this knife wasn't designed to be a tool. This was basically designed to bludgeon to death crowds. I mean, this was designed for the trenches of World War One. Get in there, beat the hell out of your enemy, stab them, cut him, just bludgeon him to death. So it wasn't really designed to be, cutting up wood or cutting rope and stuff. I mean, it's just not designed for it to be a camp tool or a cutting tool, really. I mean, it's designed to kill people. So it just wasn't as versatile a knife as World War II demanded. I mean, like I said, this knife was designed for World War One. So it became apparent by like 1942, 1943 that the Army was going to need a new design. So they actually came up with the M3 trench knife in 1943, which was a pretty cool knife. And the Marine Corps came out with their Mark II combat knife, better known as the K-bar. So those knives replaced the Mark I, but I mean, Mark One was still pretty cool. Definitely got to see service in World War One a little bit, and World War Two a decent amount. The thing was, though, things had just changed by World War Two. People were wanting just a sleeker, more stealthy, efficient knife like the Fairbairn Sykes. I mean, that blade design was very, very popular and still is. I mean, just that. I mean, you look at a lot of knife designs from World War II. I mean, a lot of people were trying to get that design incorporated into their knife. Like the first Special Forces unit, I guess it was like the Devil's Brigade. I mean, their knife was specifically modeled after the Fairbairn Sykes knife. So that just kind of shows you where knife technology and philosophy was going. So yeah, the Mark One was kind of just out of its place in time. So it was eventually phased out by more modern knives, but it's still pretty cool. It was used. I mean, the knife is kind of iconic because it was used by Lee Marvin in the Big Red One movie. I mean, that knife was really freaking cool in that movie, and actually played a pretty big role in the movie too. So yeah, that's pretty cool. But yeah, as far as the knife goes, I really love it, man. It's just, it's just a really cool piece of military history, and I just love the look of it too. Like, I like how it's blued. Like, like a lot of the cheap copies I've seen online, like the bronze handle is like bright, and the blade itself is like shiny and stuff. But actually, the whole knife would have been blued with a black oxide finish, which is pretty cool. I mean, it definitely gives it more of a rugged look. And I mean, the reason why they put that stuff on there was to make it less shiny, but also to protect the metal from corrosion and rust and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it just gives it kind of I don't know, kind of a eerie look. Like when you hold this thing in your hand, you're like, wow, this was definitely designed for World War One. I mean, it's just so massive and heavy and just kind of crude, but also you can definitely tell just how dangerous this thing could be. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely a product of its time. And what can I say, man? If you want to get your own Mark One trench knife, go get it because I love this knife. So, yeah, I'll put a link in the description to Atlanta Cutlery Corp's website if you want to get one. These aren't cheap, but you definitely get what you pay for with this knife. So, yeah, check it out if you want. But, yeah, Mark I trench knife kicks ass. I mean, hell, they even have this knife in Battlefield 1. So, yeah, I guess if you can't afford to get a real one, at least use it in the game if you want to. But, yeah, anyway, the Mark I, it's a badass knife in my book.